January 21st, 2017. Got some news coming in, and I want to link to this because I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's from the Department of Homeland Security, which is https www.dhs.gov. DHS for Department of Homeland Security. We have a new Secretary, General Kelly. And you notice it says in the blue box, executive orders on protecting the homeland. And what he has done is taking the executive orders issued by President Trump on January the 25th about protecting our borders. Now, it has nothing to do with the executive order that I think Trump will issue this week about incoming flights from other nations and the 7 nations that was mentioned as far as flight travel ban and that. This is pretty much to do with the borders that connect us with the other nations. And I'm going to highlight it because it's long and you can read the entire thing yourself. But let's take a look at what they're talking about. This is what it's titled. Secretary Kelly issues the implementation memoranda on border security and interior enforcement executive orders. Release date today, February the 21st. Since today, Secretary John Kelly issued 2 memoranda to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS workforce, providing further direction to implement the recent executive orders on border security and enforcement of the immigration laws, in accordance with the department's commitment to be transparent with American people and to more effectively implement policies and practices that serve the national interests and protect the homeland. Consolidated information regarding DH operations in relation to the executive orders is available here, and we're going to take a look at it because this is the order. Now, when you go to the page, click on the PDF link, and it will bring you here. And it is, again, from Homeland Security. It's a memorandum to or for the Acting Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Acting Director, U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. And it's a letter telling these people what to do. Acting Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Acting General Counsel, Acting Assistant Secretary for International Affairs. That's important because remember the transnational gangs that were mentioned? They're going to have a long reach with this. And the Acting Undersecretary of Management. And it is from John Kelly, General John Kelly, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. The subject, implementing the President's border securities and immigration enforcement improvement policies. This memorandum implements, what does he say? Implements the executive order entitled Border Security and Immigration Enforcement Improvements. Guys, you can go to the whitehouse.gov, click on executive orders, look at January 25th, and read that. And you're going to see a lot of it in this particular document. It says, which establishes the President's policy regarding effective border security and immigration enforcement through faithful execution of the laws of the United States. Jeff Sessions will end up playing a large part of this. It implements new policies designed to stem illegal immigration and facilitate the detection, apprehension, detention, and removal of aliens who have no lawful basis to enter or remain in the United States. Guys, that kind of widens that group. Think about that. But he did say if you have committed a crime, and it is a crime to enter the United States or any other country illegally. It constitutes guidance to all department personnel and supersedes all existing conflicting policy. Gone, wiped out. Directives, memoranda, and other guidances regarding this subject matter to the extent of the conflict except as otherwise expressly stated in this memorandum. Throw everything you've ever heard out. This is what we're going to do. We're going to follow the law and the new executive order. That's what he's saying. again, I just want to touch on it. You can read it, but Section A, it's a policies regarding the apprehension and detention of aliens described in Section 235 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. This was an existing act. And but just to touch on it, they're going to set up more detention centers on the border where people crossing are apprehended, and looks like no longer than a 72-hour time before they're sent back from the border that they crossed, not from the country of origin the way it used to be, but back from the border that was crossed. And they touch on detention at the border. Again, people arriving at the United States and deemed inadmissible or otherwise described in Section 235, pending a final determination of whether to order them removed, including determining the eligibility for immigration relief, is the most efficient means by which to enforce the immigration laws at our borders. Detention also prevents such aliens from committing crimes while at large in the U.S., ensures that aliens will appear for their removal proceedings, and increases the likelihood the aliens lawfully ordered removed will be removed. Says a lot there. But in the end of the next paragraph, it says such policies collectively referred to as catch and release shall end. You can read the rest of this. In Section B, they talk about hiring more agents and officers. It has, they say they have insufficient agents, officers to effectively detect, track, and apprehend all aliens illegally entering the U.S. The United States needed additional agents and officers to ensure complete operational control of the border. Accordingly, the Commissioner of the CBP shall, while ensuring consistency in training and standards, immediately begin the process of hiring 5,000 additional Border Patrol agents. Remember yesterday, they announced 10,000 new ICE agents, as well as 500 air and marine agents. Officers subject to the availability of resources and take all actions necessary to ensure that such agents and officers enter on duty and are assigned to appropriate duty stations, including providing for the attendant resources and additional personnel necessary to support such agents as soon as practical. If you read through it, you're going to find a section that talks about they will enlist local law enforcement along the borders that are already trained in many of the skills necessary to do this job. You won't just be getting rookies. And that's going to take a lot of the burden from having to hire so many people immediately. And it makes sense. Section C, identifying and quantifying sources of aid to Mexico. Why are we giving aid to Mexico? You can read this thing. It says, President has directed the heads of all executive departments to identify and quantify all sources of direct and indirect federal aid or assistance to the government of Mexico. Accordingly, the Undersecretary for Management shall identify all sources of direct or indirect aid and assistance, excluding intelligence activities, from every department component to the government of Mexico on an annual basis for the last 5 fiscal years, and quantify such aid or assistance. He wants that submitted, reflecting the historical levels and the assistance within 30 days of this memorandum. That's today. We're going to find out where it's going, why, and why the borders are so open with the gangs and things like that. Section E is short, commissioning a comprehensive study of border security. Undersecretary for Management, in consultation with the Commissioner of CBP, Joint Task Force Border, and Commandant of the Coast Guard, is directed to commission an immediate comprehensive study of the security of the southern border, air, land, maritime, and to identify the vulnerabilities and provide recommendations to enhance border security. The study shall include all aspects of the current border security environment, including the availability of federal and state resources to develop and implement an effective border security strategy that will achieve a complete operational control of the border. air, land, and maritime. F, it goes right into it, border wall construction and funding. And this goes into effect immediately. A wall along the southern border is necessary to deter and prevent the illegal entry of aliens and is a critical component of the president's overall border security strategy. No one should be surprised he said it on day one. Congress has authorized the construction of physical barriers and roads at the border to prevent illegal immigration in several statutory provisions, including Section 102 of the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. Consistent with the President's executive order, the will of Congress, and the need to secure the border in the national interest, CBP, in consultation with the appropriate executive departments and agencies and non-governmental entities having relevant expertise, that would be construction companies, guys, and using materials originating in the U.S. to the maximum extent permitted by law, shall immediately begin planning, designing, construction, maintenance of the wall, including the attendant lighting, technology including sensors, as well as patrol and access roads along the land bordered with Mexico in accordance with existing law in the most appropriate locations, utilizing appropriate materials and technology to most effectively achieve operational control of the border. They're not playing. It goes through getting the congressional budget set up for this, and then into G, expanding expedited removal pursuant to Section 235. It is in the national interest to detain and expeditiously remove from the U.S. aliens apprehended at the border who have been ordered removed after consideration and denial of their claims for relief or protection. Then it goes on to say that, and it empowers the immigration officers. What it does, it says, if an immigration officer determines that an arriving alien is inadmissible to the United States under Section 212, the officer shall, consistent with all applicable laws, order the alien removed from the United States without further hearing or review. Would not clog up the courts, not release them, and let's see if they show back up, unless the alien, an unaccompanied alien child, as defined in 6 U.S.C. Section 279, indicates an intention to apply for asylum or fear of persecution or torture or fear of return to his or her country, or claims to have a valid immigration status within the U.S. or to be a citizen or national of the United States. You can read on this. It's not going to be quite so easy to just say anything and get in, but we're already getting long into the video. Now, I just want to touch on one other thing. It says, to counter the substantial and ongoing threat to the security of the southern border, including threats to our maritime border and the approaches, the directors of the Joint Task Force, West, East, and Investigations, as well as the ICE-led Border Enforcement Security Task Force, are directed to plan and implement enhanced counter-network operations directed at disrupting transnational criminal organizations. Focused on those involved in human smuggling, the Department will support this work through the Office of Intelligence and Analysis, CPB's National Targeting Center, and the Department of Homeland Security's Human Smuggling Cell. In addition, the task force shall include participants from other federal, state, and local agencies and should target individuals and organizations whose criminal conduct undermines border security or the integrity of the immigration system, including offenses related to alien smuggling or trafficking, drug trafficking, illegal entry and reentry, visa fraud, identity theft, unlawful possession or use of official documents, fake visas comes to mind, and acts of violence committed against a person or property at or near the border. And he said they're going to set up a database for the public so that it's easy to understand and that you can see the results of what is happening. But guys, again, I'm going to link this. It's a heads up. It looks like the wall will begin immediately. It will be very technologically advanced. You're going to have air, marine support. It's not going to be the same way that it used to be. Things are changing. It's a heads up. Be safe.